So, hi Karen, how are things going for you today?
Good, Paula. Busy start to the year, but it's not really any different any year, is it?
No, it seems like it's just going faster and faster.
It does.
It's, yeah, it's crazy. Now, look, thank you very much for joining us. What we like to do is ask our wonderful guests how they were brought into the sector. What was your journey to bring you into the early learning sector? If you'd like to share that with us, that would be great.
I think I'm not very uncommon to most people. Um, a lot of us just fall into it. I
It's a
was,
common theme.
it very much is. I knew I loved children. I loved being with children. I was the kid at cousins' gatherings or family gatherings that was organising games and looking after babies. So I knew it was my thing. Um, it was goes back to the 80s, and I was in between jobs and scouring. I'm going to really show my age. Scouring the newspaper, um, and there was a job ad for a governess in far west New South Wales. So I
Wow.
hand wrote my application and posted it off, as you do. And
And it was overnight then, right? You literally got it the
oh,
next day.
very, very. I just forgot about it. I did it and forgot about it, as you do. And then I got a call and offered this position for a governess on a station near Wilcannia in far west New
Wow.
South Wales. So it was about 140 k's out of Wilcannia. And I stayed up in that area for 3 years and was teaching children via School of the Air. So I did three families over 3 years. It's pretty common to stay with a family for a year, and often governesses swap across families. I think, I'm not sure if that's the same, but at the time people got really worried their children would have these big relationships with people who would then not be around after things. So it was a 12 month position. I
Yep.
just loved it. I had no qualifications, no experience whatsoever. We were talking on School of the Air, and aeroplanes were dropping our schoolwork out of the sky in bags that bounced along the runway. Like it was so much fun, and you become part of the family and part of the station as well. So,
Well, there's not
some
much else
days,
to do either, is there? Like, it's not if you can just go to town for milk and bread
no, you
for an
don't.
hour.
So,
You just
no.
don't. No.
And
So,
school cancels, right? You cancel school when shearing's on because shearing takes precedence. So it's all of that. It was a really fun time. And then I came back after 3 years knowing that that was my thing. And then studied, got a job in a centre, and then over the next 20 or more years, I think I've worked every position in a centre, including being a cook because it worked for what I needed at the time. So I knew
wow.
I knew I knew I wanted more. I was the people would knock on the door and ask did we have vacancies, and I would do tours and I'd answer the phone. So I knew that that business side of it for me was where I wanted to go. And then I stepped into an area manager's role, and that was the biggest learning curve for me. I started to learn about data and drivers, and I just got really hungry for teaching other people how to do that. So empowering leaders, people like I was, being able to identify those people with that drive and people that wanted to succeed and actually empower them to see the business side of early education, because it's a business. It's absolutely is. It's there. We're there for children and education, but it's a business. It's a functioning business. So
It is. And
that's
the regulations are back, what, 25 years ago, they were what, about that thick? Now they're like across governments, cross departments, federal, state, so many things encompass now those regulations that it has to be a business around child safety and
yep,
children
it
as
does.
well, right? It's a two-part thing. There's an operational
Yeah,
accountability, but also the financials, but also that child safety.
yeah.
Yeah, it's
It
huge. It's huge.
huge burden, huge burden on, and I think that's going to be a big shift in the coming years. Is the amount of documentation required. Um, it's dragging people away from the pivotal reason that we're there is relationships with children. So
Yeah, and that's really the what parents, when they send their child to um, early learning or care, whatever it is, family daycare, they're not thinking about all that paperwork you've got. They just want the best care for their child.
I just finished a chat with an emerging leader this morning, and she's been working on a philosophy, and she had a really big document that was cut and pasted out of the framework and out of the legislation and out of the law. And I said, you're missing what a philosophy is. And we talked about the really simple stuff. Ask your parents the three most important things for them. And I said, I can promise you it's not going to be Vygotsky's theory. And she
No.
had all these theorists listed, and I said, it's not what it's about. Ask your children what's their favourite thing about coming. I said, ask your educators what's the most important thing they do. And I said, none of them will be theory.
No, and what's funny is I remember I've got three older children, they're 20s now. Years ago, when they first started school, it was a Catholic school, and one of the things the principal said to us when they were in kindy was, what's the main hope for you for your children going through school? And pretty much 100% of parents said that they're happy. It
Mm,
wasn't about that they got to be a doctor or an accountant or a lawyer or a whatever. It was actually just their happiness that
yep.
really was the driver.
Mm,
And to this day, it's still the same.
yep. And that's exactly the same conversation. I said, you'll find that they want their children to learn, they want them to be safe, and they want them to be happy.
It's
That's where it's going to land. But do the work, figure it out.
and eventually, when you get there, and it's funny, isn't it? I'm assuming she's not a parent. I think your focus changes when you have kids as well, because all of a sudden you get those parents coming in and the anxiety and the
Mm,
it's so different. But look, there's fabulous educators regardless. I mean, they're just your jobs are just amazing, truly. What you guys do. But I was just going to ask you. Let's go back to the word governess, Karen. That's a really old term these days. It's more like au pair and nanny is what they use now, isn't it? Is that
They do in not in regional, but regional still have governesses, because the governess part of it is the teaching part, which
right?
is
Okay.
the relationship, and it's very different now with the internet and connections. But that school of the air thing is very different, and it's very. I still see jobs advertised, and it's often they're looking for couples to come. So they're looking for a station hand or a leading hand and a governess that come in as a team. So
And I
yeah.
suppose that keeps that governess or leading hand. They've actually got company. They've got someone that they know, so they're more likely to stay as well.
And it's depending on the size of the station. Like where I was, there was about five jackaroos at as well as me, and there was other staff that came in when it was busy, like landmarking or shearing, or it was a sheep station. So
Yeah,
there was
yeah,
always people around, and even though it's a long way from town, there's a lot of effort was put in to make sure that there was social things. So you just got used to it. You would drive 140 kilometres to play tennis on a Thursday night, like you just did.
well,
Otherwise, you didn't
otherwise
do
you,
anything.
yeah, otherwise,
Yeah.
yeah. And actually, I mean, I know we're sort of a bit off topic here around governess and stations, but what you're talking about is another part of early learning, right, and teaching.
Absolutely.
It doesn't need to be in a centre. It doesn't need to be restricted or anything like that. You can actually have great roles out there in the
Yeah.
country, regional areas, supporting those families that really do need help. And what
Yeah.
a fun way to do it.
Oh, it was so much fun. And those children pack up and go to boarding school in year seven. There is no options for them beyond finishing primary
Mm,
school. So they become really independent adults, the little adults at 12 and 13,
yeah,
because
it's
they have to
actually
be.
they don't have a choice, do they? And
No.
yeah, I know a lot of my age male friends that were country and boarded at
Mm,
different schools around Sydney,
mm,
and
yeah.
just it's definitely a different resilience that they have.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But anyway, look, thank you so much for that. And then I'm assuming, how did you end up with community services?
Community Services One. I
Yeah,
was
community
an
services one.
yep.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. I did a stint as an area manager for a for-profit organisation, and I probably learnt more about the business side of that from that stint. But I just have such a passion for not-for-profits, for making sure that the money is going back to people and not to pockets. To coin my favourite thing, we are a larger organisation, so we do aged care and community development. So the the better we run our business in ECEC, the bigger amount of funds that we generate to help people in our community. We have a food pantry. We run hampers throughout the year for different cultural celebrations. We currently have a back to school drive happening where we can help families with the cost of school resources or school uniforms. We're really looking this year at and what we're chasing is some sponsorship around it from some different organisations, but being able to support children so they can play sport when the cost of sport is a barrier, because it's such a social connector and it gives children, particularly children who are vulnerable and are living a lifestyle that potentially will lead them into some challenging behaviours. It gives them something that's really important to them. So, and the cost of playing sport is expensive, and children grow and shoes change. So, we're really looking to have a program that families can come to us and say, look, my child really wants to play basketball, but I just can't afford the uniform. I can afford the fees, but I can't afford the uniform. So we're just working through that at the moment.
And they've got to
Because
have that uniform, right? They can't just
yeah,
turn up in. They've got to have a uniform. They've got to have so many things go with playing
yeah,
sport. But I mean, and I'm following on your lead here, but the benefits
yeah,
are amazing because of that teamwork and
yeah.
all of those lessons that they learn and that social dynamic.
And the responsibility, you've got a responsibility to a team. You're part of a team. So if you don't show up or you don't train or you don't play, the team is impacted. So it really teaches some really skills, and the social impact is enormous.
Yeah. Well, look, if anyone is listening, anyone in our audience who'd like to help Karen, contact her at Community Services One. And look, we'll obviously at the end of the podcast, everything, share today's episode, and of course, any information about you, Karen, will be there as well. So hopefully,
Thanks.
we might be able to get to the broader audience, and someone out there can help you.
Someone's interested. That'd be great.
Yeah. Look, just before we move, what we'll do is move through a couple of topics and a couple of questions. And look, one of the things I'd love to know about, what are the current challenges and gaps that room leaders face when transitioning or trying to transition to those broader leadership roles?
I think one of the biggest challenges is the crabs in the bucket mentality. Is that people, and I'm not sure if you've heard of it, but
No, I haven't.
so crabs in, if you get a bucket and you tip crabs in the bucket, the crabs will try to climb out. They'll try to climb higher, and the other crabs will grab hold of them and they'll pull them back into the bucket. And it's a leadership thing. People get into a position of leadership and they try to protect it.
Yep.
They, instead of embracing what other people can bring to it, how they can help or support people, they pull them back down. You're not ready. You haven't learnt this yet. Rather than going, hey, I can help you with that, or this is a skill that you're going to need to do, or I've got a tour coming in half an hour. Would you like to do it with me so that you can learn that? Is this mentality of one person tries to climb higher, somebody will pull them back down, even if it's of no benefit to anyone. It's the mindset stifles potential leaders and it holds the entire sector back.
It does.
It's
And we don't need to do that.
no, we
No.
run our emerging leaders program, and it's identifies people that have got an aspiration to grow their careers. And one of the comments I have had over the years when we've been running it is, oh, don't you worry, you're going to train them and they'll leave. And I said, and that's okay. They're not leaving. They're not leaving me. Like, I might not have a position for them, but if I send a well-trained aspiring leader out into the sector, then I'm doing good things.
Yeah, absolutely. And always, if you've got 20 in your emerging leader program and you only have 5 roles, 15
Yeah,
will move on. And
yeah,
that shared knowledge and that shared experiences actually makes the sector a better place.
yeah. It's a commitment to the sector as well as a commitment to our educators and our
Mm,
organisation. It's
that's
bigger than us.
fantastic. Yeah, so what in that emerging leaders program, what are some of the things that you see that are important to share to those leaders? What sort of could you share with us some of the
Yeah.
topics or some of the or the recipe, I suppose, of for the success of those workshops or programs?
Right from the very beginning, it's understanding the role of the nominated supervisor and the person that's in day-to-day charge because it has a huge responsibility. It's got it's punishable if things go wrong. It's your name is on the door. So we really do spend a lot of time because you have to be ready. You can't say I want to be a leader and I want to run a centre if you're not prepared to have your name on the door and be that person. So making sure they understand what that involves, what their obligations are, what their reporting obligations are. Probably the next thing we move into is developing and maintaining your quality improvement plan or your QIP so that it becomes a functioning document. It's not a document we pull out of a drawer a week before A&R and update and flick it off to the authorised officer. That it's actually, if you use it the way it's designed to use, it's your biggest tool. You can look at something and go, wow, we've actually achieved that, and using it as a way to celebrate things that you've been working on and achieving, but also going, wow, that's really not working. Let's pop that in our quip and work out how we can move through the process of that being a better process.
Would you say, out in corporate world, outside of the sector, a quip would be similar to your strategic plan, your business plan on where you
Yep,
want to be in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, whatever it is,
absolutely.
because that's part of it. Just obviously called
Yep.
different names, but that's how I would see that.
That's how it is, and it's probably somewhere between a strategic plan and an operational plan. So
Yes.
it has some minute details or minutiae that are really low level, but they're achievable. And a really nice way of doing it is to, if you use it well, you're getting wins all the time. You don't need to put
Yes.
the big only the big goal in. You can put the little goal, like we're really struggling with our transitions. These are the things we're going to try. This is so much better. We can actually just move that into completed, so that it's that
Uh,
sense of achievement that comes along with it. So there's
and so it's sorry, you go.
short, medium, and long term things sitting in it. Rather than just the big, we want to be our big goal is to be a cultural service that respects all. Think, how do we get there? It's the little goals that get us there that sit underneath those big goals.
And that's applies to anyone in the sector,
Yeah,
right? From
yeah,
whether you're an educator, casual,
yep,
room leader, even your own goals that can fit into that quip, and
correct.
be part of that team and see
Mm,
that living document come to life,
yeah.
and get those achievements underway. The other thing I was going to ask you, we go back to the nominated supervisor. Do you find most nominated supervisors don't understand their responsibilities, or are you seeing an improvement across the board that they're understanding there is regulations and legal obligations?
I think it's getting better. I think that there's a real commitment by providers to understand their obligations to ensure that their nominated supervisors do understand. But it's not a job, or it's not something you teach and you stop teaching. It's one of those things that you need to circle back to all the time because there's changes to regulations, there's changes to the law. You might have an incident that happens that's never happened before, how you manage that. So being and creating a culture where if you're not sure, just ask. Like
Yes,
don't think, oh, I think that's the way I should do it and it'll be fine. Just ask. Put your
because
hand up.
there's too much
Too much at risk. Too much
way
risk.
too much at risk. Yeah, and it is, once again, we come back to the care for children, the child safety, and what
Correct.
we're there for.
Hmm.
Look, how do you think room leaders, actually, I just realised, did we have anything else that you'd like to talk about through that Emerging Leaders program
We've
that
got
I
heaps.
just...
I suppose some of it is sector relevant, and some of it is our organisation. So we talk a lot about people and culture and their role as a team in being able to support. So if you're struggling with an educator, or you've got some performance issues, that we've actually got a team that sits there to help you. You don't have to try and figure this out, because it in itself is complex. It has laws and implications if you say or do the wrong thing through that process. The biggest part of
Absolutely.
it, my favourite part of it and the fun, is the effective rostering and the difference that it can make to your business, to your bottom line. That you might have 7 babies in a baby's room and you're staffed for those babies. The difference that getting that 8th baby in on that day will make to your business, and what the bottom line with. And we've got some spreadsheets that we play with, and we have them play with, that show, if you're running, what the difference is also going to make is, if you've got 8 babies in that room and you take a 9th baby on, you're going to need an extra educator. So while you think you're actually doing the right thing, you're actually not doing, you're doing yourself a disservice. So
Your bottom line
really,
changes.
and being able to, it's really powerful, because they have the spreadsheets and they're able to go, right, this. And we do a lot of, sorry, I've lost the word.
Like modelling or...
A lot of can't find the word. A lot of
Uh,
scenarios. Goodness me,
yes, that's
a lot of
right.
scenarios.
I
So
knew what you meant. I couldn't say the word either.
this is what your centre looks like today. You've come in this morning and you've had 3 emails asking for this booking, this booking, this booking. What are you going to do? And it just helps them think outside the different. You might have a baby that's ready to do some transitioning, so you and room in the toddlers, so you can transition that baby that day. You've done the paperwork, you've spoken to the parents, so that baby can be counted in the toddlers that day, and you can take that booking. So how it changes their bottom line and what it makes, and numbers are really powerful. If you get
Oh,
someone that
absolutely.
they get hungry, they get really hungry for it, and if you can get them hungry for their bottom line, and that flows on, right, this is going to make a difference to your resource budget, and this is going to make a difference to your incursion excursion budget. These are all going to be things that change what you do, and you're in charge of this. you know, oh, so and so's called in sick. Oh, but we've had a couple of children call in sick today. If I cover 2 breaks, I don't need a staff member. That so that really, that whole scenario based thing, we do a lot of work on it, and it's one of the things that they really enjoy. They get really invested in, because it's powerful, right? And it's black and white, and it's
Yeah,
data. And
yeah, it is,
and
and you can't beat that.
I'm a data nerd, so if you can fine tune it down to the wire. So we do a lot around that. We do a lot around child safe organisations and what our obligations are, what that means. Doing tours and orientations, the importance of that and what that means to a family.
Yeah, yeah,
And it's a sales
and
pitch, right? It's a
yeah, it
sales
is.
pitch, and
It is.
families will spend a couple of days going to visit different centres, and you want to be the one that, when they sit down that night and go, right, what are we going to do? You want to be the one that they remember.
Yes,
And
yes.
it's not about saying, this is a toddler's room, we have 15 toddlers in here and we have 3 staff and they all work into the front. It's
Uh,
about walking down a hallway and showing them a photo of an educator and some children, um,
Building a picture, really, isn't it?
building a
Building.
picture, right? And you stop at that photo and you say, and I will say to families, you will see, I can buy new furniture, and I can buy expensive equipment, and I can buy really good rugs. I said, but I can't buy that. I can't buy that interaction with that family. So whatever your decision that you make for your child, it doesn't have to be us. Make the decision that makes you feel like that. And that's powerful, right? They walk away and they just go, we're going here. We don't care what you do, what you say, what you cost, because you're getting, it's feelings.
Yes,
It's the feelings, right? So you're tapping into emotion and feelings, and that's really important. And people, you can learn it, but some people are just so much better at it, and you need to, and it might be your cert 3 in your toddler's room might be that person that can do it, and then that's your tour person.
that's
Because
absolutely, absolutely. And you can then from there also see where those emerging leaders will come through, right? Because
mm,
they're thinking already ahead. They've got that. Um, Not that others don't; they just may need more support or more
yeah,
training. But you can sort of see where people move, and we're not all the same. For that, we wouldn't want to
no,
be all the same, right? A bit boring otherwise. But yeah. So look, with that, how can room leaders leverage their skills in early education and build competencies beyond the room? And I think what you're talking about is doing that with that tool, with that feeling, with that
yep,
budget, and getting that data right, looking at the bottom line, thinking if I put 2 children in, I need another staff member. What happens? What happens to my resources, and
yeah.
how can I do it better? Is there anything else that you can think of that would?
It's they have to be, you have to be fully wanting to learn all the time. It's that curiosity approach. It's watching something happen and saying to your director or your assistant director, "Oh, I can see that that so and so's mum rang up today for a casual booking, but you didn't take it. Why didn't you take it? Ask the questions, get the understanding, and keep asking. And if you don't understand, just be relentless in your curiosity, because curiosity just breeds knowledge, right? People will tell, and people love learners. People love
Yes,
people who love to learn.
yeah,
Find
absolutely.
a mentor. Find somebody that you admire or that you view as successful, and learn. Ask some questions, bounce things off them. They're not there to tell you how to deal with Mary, who won't put a cup in the dishwasher every lunchtime. Learn about the, if that's where you want to go, learn about the business.
Yeah,
Read, be enthusiastic, read research articles, read about what other organizations are doing. Bring things in. Say, hey, I read about this and this organization is doing this. Is this something that we can think about doing? But think about how we're going to do it. Don't throw a job on my plate and say, I want to do bush kindy. Come and say, hey, I've been thinking about bush kindy and I've done some research, and I was thinking if we did this and we did this, and I don't think it's going to cost us any extra money, but we could use it in our marketing. Come to me with a plan. Come and stand here with your enthusiasm, but don't throw a job on my plate.
absolutely. That's I always remember back to when I was doing early leadership management courses and diplomas and things. That was one of the key things back 30 odd years ago
Mm,
was don't just throw someone a problem, actually throw them a solution.
yeah,
Because that's your business brain thinking. If
yep,
you were there, what would you do? Like, what's your process? Not just here, someone else solve it. You actually solve it for yourself first, then
yeah.
approach your leader.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
a lot of what we hear is, oh, we want to do bush kindy. Okay, well, what's that going to look like? I don't know. I just want you to figure that out. Or, oh,
You're my
we want
boss.
to we want to engage with some local elders. Okay, so who have you reached out to? Oh, no one. Okay. So it's that. And it's the volunteering and participating. It's that kind of an example. It is that kind of an industry where you've got to dig in. You can't, it's not a go to work and go home at thing. There's always going to be staff meetings, and there's going to be parents that want that little bit extra at the end of the day. And it's speak with families and encourage your peers to succeed. Like, it's so important. Like, it's not a cat fight. We're not here to battle each other. Like, the best centers and the centers that are the most successful are cohesive, and they genuinely have a connection with each other where they can say, you know, Paula, it looks like today's you're not having a great day. I'm supposed to program this afternoon. Do you want to go and have your study time, and I'll program tomorrow? Like, actually spend time being kind, because kindness
And
breeds
that's
kindness.
And that's so simple.
Hmm, so
Well,
simple.
it should be. Should be simple.
Should be. Leading by example. Don't walk past it. If you don't accept it, don't walk past it. And it could be as simple as walking out and seeing an educator without a hat on is saying, "Oh, hey, Paula, you don't have your hat on." "Oh, I've left my hat." "No worries, there's spare hats in the staff room." Like, don't walk
Absolutely.
past it, because they won't walk past it. And
No.
it's important. And I think praise and acknowledgement is huge for me, is take the time to thank people. Take the time to say to a trainee, "Oh, you did a really good job this morning settling Ava when she came in. Her mum was really nervous and you handled it really well. Mum's gone off to work and she's feeling a bit better and Ava's settled in. Thank you. You did a really good job." That is just so powerful. And people remember you do. And I know that because somebody I ran into at an awards night came up to me, who I, to be fair, barely remembered. But she said to me, "You were just so nice to me." She said, "I was so nervous." And she said to me, "You just said, oh, you're doing a really good job. Maybe you could go and do this in the sandpit with these children." She said, "Because I just didn't know what to do." And that was 10 years earlier, like such a long time. But she was holding that. And it was simple. And
Wow.
it's just so important. And it's important at all levels. You don't, it's not just the trainee, it's also walking out the door and saying to your director, "God, today was tough. Are you okay?" "Yeah, yeah, actually I am. I will be okay, but thanks."
Yeah, and
Like,
it's
we're in
amazing
this.
the difference it makes, right? It's
Yeah,
amazing the difference. Just that one or two words of encouragement or thank you. And you just said, like, that's a lifelong 10 years that
yeah,
person still remembered.
yeah.
It's,
Just be the leader that you want people to be. Kind, like, be
yeah,
genuinely care about people. And you don't have to be people's best friend, but you can be authentic and care about people and enjoy it. Like, it's
yes.
just so powerful.
Oh, look, Karen, thank you so much for that information you've just shared on programs and opportunities to help bridge that gap, and also how room leaders can leverage those skills so they can build confidence beyond the room. Now, let's talk about the future. Looking forward, what do you feel are the big topics for the sector in the next sort of 3 to 5 years?
I think there's big things to happen coming ahead. I think the government is still not really disclosing what their long-term plan is for ECEC. There's talk about the $10 a day model, which has been hedged around but not committed to. It's a really tricky situation because for-profit providers and um, not-for-profit providers are sit in a very different space about what profits should look like for those. The worker retention payment that was announced at the end of last year is a very right now hot topic. It's really complex, and the modelling that's available to us is has some inaccuracies in it, and it's really difficult to know if it's worthwhile to restrict your fees for the percentage you can increase your fees for the next couple of years, or you're better off to not do that and go above award anyway, which most not-for-profits are already paying above award. Um, Workforce challenges and retention, I don't think that's ever going to change. Universal access is so that children aren't disadvantaged because their parents aren't working or aren't studying, that we value the fact that early education should be available to all children. And at a minimum, there's 15 hours of preschool available for children, in a very minimum. Um, Indigenous education and reconciliation, how we can culturally and achievably have a service that respects and acknowledges Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders, and how it becomes an authentic part of our curriculum and not an add-on. Um,
And that's
I
true
got
inclusion,
plenty
right?
in through inclusion. And I think mental health and well-being is going to be enormous. I think it's a big thing for educators, but it's also been a post-COVID big thing for children. Children's lives were diversely changed by access to social interaction and lockdowns, and it's been a really different, and that's been really come through really significantly in the last couple of years, is the challenges around children's well-being.
Yeah. And is it this year? Is it the first year of those COVID children that they are going into school as well as into that sort of first level of school? So it's going to
My
also.
granddaughter,
Oh yeah.
my granddaughter was born in February of 2020, so just before we went into lockdown, and she goes to kindy next week. So
Wow.
that's her first year, but she's been lucky. She's had access to early education, for the last few years. So she has. But the really significant changes to the way children were able to interact, and different rules in different states. I mean, Victoria's were significantly different to everybody else's. Um,
Absolutely. And even
so,
here in New South Wales, the way different cultures and different people seem to be treated, and whether you're in a
mhm,
unit block or a house or whether what suburb you lived in, the
yeah.
impact was sort of willy-nilly, was for want of a better word. It was very difficult.
And working from home, like that changed the landscape of what work looked like forever.
Yeah,
There's some changes coming now where people are being pushed back in, but children being at work with their parents,
it
like children
is.
being at home and at work with their parents, and what that looks like for a child.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. No, there's a lot of, you just pointed out so many different things that we're going to be watching over the next sort of 3 to 5 years
Mm.
impact, whether it be in a good way or a not so good. But we've all got to be moving to the same goal of that caring for children and their best interests and well-being.
Mm. Watch your space.
Yes, absolutely. Watch this space. Let's come back again in a year or so, Karen, and see and have an update. Look,
Sure.
before we finish up with our wonderful guests, we like to find out what your motivational quote or wise words would be that have sort of you'd like to share with us. Do you have anything
Be kind.
simple?
Be kind to each other, to children, to people who probably don't deserve it. Just be kind.
And you become out a winner.
You do.
Oh, look, Karen, thank you so much for your time today. It's actually been a pleasure to
Welcome.
learn more about your passion, but what I really got was how you want to empower and give that passion to those educators that might be feeling a bit deflated or a bit lost, like the crab in the bucket theory that you explained, where they want that guidance to move and grow. And look, and I just, what you said just was fantastic. And I hope our audience got something out of that today for you.
Terrific. Thanks, Paula.
Wonderful. Thank you, Karen. Appreciate your time. Take care. We'll talk soon.
Bye.